All right, and name you to the host.
Wait,
There.
I shared the wrong thing. Hang on. Try that again. Oh, are you seeing my email?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're seeing, yeah.
Okay. I'm clicking on the presentation, but it's going to, I know my mouse stopped. Okay.
Technology is wonderful. until it doesn't. So it's not.
My mouse just stopped. Okay. Come on. Oh, there we go. Okay, now we're back. Okay, we're going to try this again. It's still going to my email. What is going on? Let me.
Yeah, we did see the presentation for a moment, it looked like.
Okay, I just closed that down. So let me see if this does it. Okay, there we go. I think we're back in business, right?
All right, yes.
Okay. All right, so I don't know where it cut off, but essentially you may have sleeping issues. You may not be able to fall asleep, or you may fall asleep just fine and then wake up in the middle of the night with your mind racing. All right. And also, if you are stressed and maybe if you're not sleeping well or you're feeling like you're stretched too thin and you just need a break, but because you have so many things piled on your plate and your calendar's packed full, then yeah, it's going to make you feel more irritable. You might feel, might get angry a lot more easily. So again, that's going to happen if you are potentially approaching that burnout state. Another thing that might be a sign that you're getting close to burnout or you're already there is just a loss of interest in activities that you enjoy. Generally, if you're getting this space, you don't have the energy to do the things that you've always enjoyed. So that could be a hobby that's been sitting on the sidelines for a few months. It could be that you keep canceling on your partner and you haven't really spent any quality downtime together. So when you're burnt out, you just don't have anything left to give to yourself. Or to those around you. And most likely when you are burnt out or getting there, you're going to feel exhausted all the time. And it's partly because you're overworked and your basic needs aren't being addressed. But when you are running on fumes and you're tired, it takes more energy to do things. So something that would be a breeze when you're rested is going to take a lot more energy when you're burnt out. So it's going to feel like you're like trudging through mud. So if you think about running a 5K, and full disclosure, I'm not a runner here, so this is what I imagine what it would be like. But if you have a hill at the beginning of the race, it's probably going to be much easier to race up and run up that hill than if you hit that same hill at the end of the 5K, because you're already lower on energy and you're already tired. So it's kind of the same thing in our lives. If you are the little things that don't take much effort, when you're tired and stressed out and burnt out and exhausted, it's going to take a lot more energy, which is going to contribute to making you even more tired. And if you keep pushing yourself and ignoring your body's request to slow down, to take a break, to enjoy an afternoon or an evening off, then your body is eventually going to make you do that by you getting sick or getting injured. So you're going to be much more susceptible to catching something when you're running on fumes. So we don't want to let it get to that place. Okay, and another sign is the change in your eating habits. So maybe you're eating less because you've lost your appetite, or you notice that you're reaching for those, sweets or the salty snacks more than you usually do, or you're eating later than you normally do, or you're skipping meals. So stress causes all kinds of subtle changes that you may not initially recognize as being the result of stress or being burnt out. All right, and finally, when you're overwhelmed, you're stressed out, you're stretched too thin, and you're burnt out, it's harder to concentrate. And that's because your brain needs lots of energy to focus. So when you don't have any left, it's going to be harder for it to do its job. Now, if you resonate with one or two of these, doesn't necessarily mean that you're on the path to burnout, but it may be worth just, paying attention to it just to make sure that that's not what's happening. But if you recognize a lot of these, if you're kind of checking these off as we're going through them, it may be time just to pay a little bit more attention on yourself and focus on your well-being. Because it's not selfish to refill your own cup, because that's how you're going to pour into other people's cups. So I'm a visual person, so I like to give like visuals to try to explain things. So if you imagine that you had like a pitcher of water, like a metal pitcher, and your job was to go through and just fill up a bunch of people's glasses. Well, it's going to be a lot easier to do that if you can just fill it to the top, walk around and just fill up people's glasses, right? But now imagine that same metal pitcher about 2 inches from the bottom just had a row or a circle of holes in the pitcher going all the way around. Imagine how much more energy and how frustrating it's going to be to try to fill up a room full of glasses if we might get cut off again. It's telling us that 10-minute thing. If we do, we'll jump back on. We'll have a part 3.
Right.
But I'll stop with, I see the counter in here, so I'll stop right beforehand so it doesn't cut off in the middle of what we're saying. So anyway, if just again, imagine that metal pitcher with holes in it. If you're trying to fill up these glasses, it's going to take a lot more time, a lot more effort. If you have to go back and refill this pitcher every couple of glasses, because it hits those holes and you're leaking all of that water out. So it's kind of that same thing. The things in your life that are draining your energy, it's like you have a lot of holes and your water is just running out. So it's not selfish to refill those holes and patch them up so that you can refill your whole pitcher so that it's a lot easier to give to others. So let's talk about some ways that you can prevent burnout. Now, I like to call these burnout barriers. And the first thing is that you have to change your mindset. You have to be willing to believe that you are worth taking time for yourself. You have to be willing to believe that it's okay to say no to others that want something from you. You have to be willing to believe that your worth stretches far beyond what you give to others. So you have to upgrade your beliefs. And this is what I do with my clients. I spend a lot of time with people digging into what and frustrated and burnt out and unhappy and unfulfilled and all that stuff. And I help them to upgrade those so that they can change what they believe about themselves and what's possible. So they start doing things in a more aligned way. So changing your mindset, up-leveling your beliefs is the foundation to any sort of change that you want to make in your life. So if this is an area that you want to work on, it's got to start there. Next up is to challenge the shoulds, the musts, the have tos. We talk a little bit about this, but you want to catch them and question them. So you want to ask yourself if that should that you feel that you have to lean into, is that in alignment for your energy? If it's one of those that you can't actually avoid or that you can say no to. So obviously, if it's not in alignment for your energy to pay your taxes, you still got to do that, right? But if it's something that's going to drain you, if it's something that's going to make you feel resentful, if it's going to leave you frustrated or angry, then it's got to be a no. And that's okay. So that's actually an example of a belief that you might need to upgrade. You might need to work on a new belief that says, it's okay for me to say no to someone. Number 3 is to know and honor your limits. So we're going to talk about gauging your energy in just a minute. So you want to assess, again, where those holes are in your pitcher. If they're halfway down or below, you've got to recognize that you've hit your limit or that you are about to. And then you got to practice saying no to others so that you can temporarily say no to yourself when you need that space to recharge. And the 4th burnout barrier is to focus on balance. Now, I did mention earlier that I don't love the word balance, but I think when it comes to practicing, to start practicing this honoring yourself concept, I think it can be helpful to think about it from a balanced place. So if you are giving some of your time during the week, then just make sure you balance that out by giving yourself some time on the weekend. And you don't have to give yourself like the same amount of time. It's just making sure that if you're giving your time, give some time back to yourself as well. And finally, you really need to make sure that you're booking this in your calendar. Book time for yourself in your calendar, or else your calendar is going to fill up and you're just going to forget to take care of that on your side. So if you're doing that on a regular basis, that's going to prevent you from getting burnt out. All right, so let's shift into part 2, which is all about honoring and managing your energy. So in this section, I'm going to speak about what it means to honor your energy and why it's important. I'm going to share with you how you can start to gauge your energy so that you can be more intentional with managing your energy. And then we're going to explore what it looks like to refuel your energy, which ties into helping to prevent burnout. Now, when I'm talking about energy, I'm talking about your personal energy. So I like to think of it as the amount of juice that you have available at any given moment to focus on whatever's happening in your life. Your energy is your engine. It's what you allow, it's what allows you to be on the go and to get things done. It's also what allows you to think clearly. You can't make sound decisions when you are exhausted or when you're drained. And honoring your energy means paying attention to it, not ignoring it when it's low, and prioritizing replenishing your energy whenever you feel it's needed. Because when you start paying attention to your energy, you can then intentionally limit those activities that drain you, and you can start to prioritize, put them on your calendar, those things that replenish you. And when you do that, that's when you keep your cup at a sustainable level of fullness. Doesn't always have to be full, but we don't want it to always be empty either. So let's talk about your energy. Now, your energy changes every single day. That's probably not a surprise. In fact, it actually changes throughout the day. So there's going to be times during the day that you are naturally more energetic or more focused or better at communicating with people. And the more that you are aware of these natural changes in your energy, the more you can take advantage of it and the more that you can protect it. As your energy changes throughout the day, some of it, as I just mentioned, is just your natural ebbs and flows. But your energy is also impacted by a number of external things. So let's just take a quick look at those, just so that you can be aware of those. So again, sleep, probably not a surprise here. You probably are very, very aware that your sleep will impact your energy. And it's not just the amount of sleep, but it's the quality of your sleep. So that will definitely, if you're not getting good, strong quality sleep, it's going to impact your energy throughout the day. Nutrition. Now, I am not a health coach, so I'm not going to beat you over the head with about what you're eating or not eating. But I will say that obviously what we put in our bodies impacts our energy. So again, our energy is our engine. So if we're putting stuff in that's not the most energy creating a lot of energy for us, and it's just going to drag us down, then we're going to feel those results, and it's going to bring us down right with it. And next up is the weather. And I know I'm probably not the only one that gets impacted by weather. I just had a client the other day. She lives in Amsterdam, and apparently it's been very rainy and gray and yucky for weeks. And she was like, if we could just have a few days of nice weather, I could be motivated to get out of the house a little bit more. So if you were feeling a little bit drained, more drained than usual, and the weather's been crappy for a little bit longer than normal, then just know that you might need to just prioritize a little bit more of that self-care so that you can keep your energy at that sustainable level. And finally, being around others, or actually not finally, I think there's one more after this, but being around others or not being around others will definitely impact your energy. So again, I specialize working with introverts. I'm a hardcore introvert myself. So I know firsthand how being around too many people for too long is going to land me on my couch, wrapped up in a blanket, binging Harry Potter, because I'm basically just brain dead at that point. And I just need to just recharge. So if you're introverted, that means that you need to spend more time alone to recharge. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's not selfish. If you are extroverted, it's the opposite. You need to be around other people to recharge. And that is awesome too. So wherever you fall on that spectrum, just know, just be aware of that. And you probably know if you get drained if you're around a lot of people, or if you get drained if you're on your own for too long. So don't judge it, but make sure that you honor it. So build that into your schedule so that you are honoring those needs. And again, this is particularly important if you're an introvert, because our society isn't really designed to support your need for extra alone time. So just make sure that you are being the advocate for yourself on that. And finally, the last one that is just your balance between work and downtime. Now, we've talked about this a little bit already. So you really just want to strive for having a harmony between those different areas of your life so that you can have that time to recharge. So I think
Vicki,
we're gonna,
looks like we're gonna leave you
Yeah.
in about a minute.
yep, we can probably stop here and then we'll jump back on and then we'll be able to finish with the last section.
Sounds good.
Okay. Let's